Alright, the Swiss K31 carbine. This is the one everybody gets all worked up and excited about. Some say it's the best Mills surplus gun ever made, or whatever the hell that means. But what has happened again? Obscure weapon. Internet rolls around, people look at it. It is well made. It is accurate, okay? But even though I make a bunch of videos saying that the sights are off, you cannot go by just a standard thing. And kind of the point I want to make is that you must try the rifle out before you can make an opinion. So how did we come up with this in the Swiss rifle family here? Well, as we know, like I said in the other videos, the Swiss, you know, here's your GP11, 1911 cartridge. The Swiss were more trying to catch up with the ammo and then adopted, the reason it gets its name, K31. 20 years later, they came up with a rifle that marries up with their cartridge, okay? And this gun is a lot more different. What they did is they decided, and they say in the book they decided, but what it was is all the armies were turning to a shorter barreled gun, 18 inches, like the KR-98. The Germans realized after World War I, you didn't have to make these lumbering long guns. You didn't have to make two guns, like a cavalry carbine with a 16-inch barrel and a rifle with a somewhat 30-inch barrel. Everybody was realizing this, and everybody was adopting a general purpose shorter barreled weapon. So what the Swiss did is they decided, hey, let's do this. You know, after, and this was developed in the 20s, that's when they were converting all the 96s to 11s to get caught up and make sure that they had actual arms in the hands of their troops. So they said, let's take a look and try to get a new design. And that's where they came up with the K31. They realized that the carbine was the way to go. General purpose gun, more than adequate. So the huge long rifles, that whole concept was out. Also, they wanted, these guns are high quality and they are kind of on the expensive side, so they wanted to cut down on costs. So there were several changes that helped lower the cost per unit of these weapons, and they were all incorporated into this gun. One, and we'll go get the K11 to show you. Alright, one was a total redesign of the bolt, receiver, action, everything. Much stronger bolt. They changed the design around. We'll take them out and look at the bolts a little later, but some people say it was modified so much, don't know if you can really call this a Schmit Rubin. That was just an opinion, not mine. Now we'll look at the two of them and see the huge difference. First of all, the receiver here, the length. Big difference in the length of the receiver, the bolt, all that other stuff. They still operate the same way. You pull it back, safety works the same way and everything, but there's a huge difference. And then also the benefit of this is by shortening the receiver, you can have a weapon of comparably the same length, overall length, but it has a longer barrel. Okay, so that was part of the design. And also the design changes also helped lower the cost and the complexity of machining the gun. Not by cutting corners and that, but just the design itself made it easier and less expensive to do. It was an improvement. Also, this was the first rifle. So everyone here is set on 300 meters. This was the first rifle to be kind of modernized post-World War I, and their sights were graduated from 100 meters on out, which is the standard of most modern guns. Okay, so there were several huge changes adopted in 1931, and I believe the gun was manufactured all the way until 1957. Even though it was retired from active duty by the early 70s or 60s, you could still find these used by border guards or police and that well into the 80s, 90s. Okay, so as you see, not much of a difference. They went with the carbine, which most militaries were doing. Okay. Okay, so the rifle retained the side mount carbine sling mounts, and it also retained that front sight like we covered on the K11. With that front sight that's driven forward and backwards to adjust windage in the angular dovetail cut. So that was still retained, even though I believe the sight blades are different. The magazines are different, even though they're detachable. A 1911 mag will not fit into the K31 mag. Okay? But that's how it kind of became standard. So let's take a look at the bolts. Alright, here's a look at the three different bolts that you'll find. This one here on the left is from the 1889 rifle. Okay, and if you notice, it's way longer. Locking lugs are back here, which, like I explained in the other video, creates a lot of flex and stress with nothing locked into the receiver other than way back there. So in 1896, they decided to redesign the bolt. The redesign shortened the overall length of the bolt and moved the locking lugs from there to there, giving it more strength, less flex. Now this got them through till the 1911 model, and they say that this bolt here is safe for the GP11, but then it begs me to question, why do they have something like the GP23? So, you know, I don't know. That's up for debate. But that's the first major change, got us through the 11s and the modification of the 96s. And then finally, after 20 years after they adopted the more powerful cartridge, they come up with a way, they shortened it even more with this K31 bolt. So this long Winchester 73-ish snout on the bolt was eliminated. As you can see, other than these castings and elaborate parts, they went with a stamped piece of sheet metal on here. They used the same straight pull mechanism, but now what they've done is they placed the locking lugs on the end of this bolt right here, shortened it considerably, and now you have something like a turn bolt rifle locking up right at the end of the chambers where you lock, like a, you know, kind of the same principle, which creates less flex in the receiver area. You shorten the receiver and make a much stronger action. Okay, now they got a gun that handles their GP11 cartridge magnificently. There's kind of a look at the bolt. Very nicely done. Okay, so that was the one huge major thing of redesigning this rifle. Okay, with the K31, that just about wraps up my brief synopsis on Swiss rifles. I've had this collection, I accumulated it for many years. I haven't bought one of these in quite a few years. So now it's time to take them out, get them out on a range, and learn about reloading and doing things for them. Now, the K31, like I said, with the redesign, quick acting, 6-round magazine, detachable, but it does not interchange with the older 1911 mags. Okay, stronger action, smoother, shorter travel makes this gun a lot smoother than the older ones. Even though people say that they're smooth, they kind of are rickety when they operate. Some people say that this is the best military surplus gun out there, one of the best. It is iconic, it is a classic, it holds its place in history for many reasons. Being well made and accurate is one of them. I think what people forget is it doesn't really matter so much as a rifle, but the individual behind the gun turns it into something that works well. So that's my thoughts, and that's the end of my Swiss collection. This is the last one I have there in this Schmit Rubin style guns. There are a lot of people out there to give you a more detailed history on these weapons. I'm going to be more on the range shooting the weapons and telling you how they perform, and my opinions on that. Okay? So that's where we're going to go on from here. So that's it with the K31. Hope you enjoyed it, and stay tuned.